dagger spec. This is the one I use the most. So a lot of people call it like a cookie cutter spec and say it's simple or basic, but it has what you need as long as you know what you're doing. So like in this sub tree we have 5 points opportunity, 4 points in camouflage, 2 in elusiveness, 3 in improved ambush, 3 in initiative, 3 in improved sap, 1 in preparation of course, and 1 in dirty deeds. The rest of the points in the tree aren't really that complicated. You take improved gouge for a longer gouge timer, keeps them CC'd so your cooldowns can come back up or whatever. Now these 2 points here for Sinister Strike or Lightning Reflexes are pretty much whatever you prefer. I prefer the 2 points in Sinister Strike because I like being able to do the like kill people naked thing, which you can do as long as you have the 2 points in Sinister Strike. And then you go 3 points improved backstab of course because this is a dagger spec. And then we go over here to the assassination tree. 5 points into malice, you need that crit chance. It's essential, especially in low gear, which is what this spec is pretty much used for. And you have 3 points improved eviscerate, you have your 3 points in ruthlessness, your 1 point in relentless strikes, your 1 point in vile poisons, and then your cold blood obviously. You know, those are essential. You can play around with this 1 point. Some people like to put it in remorseless attacks. I don't like putting in there because I just don't think it's that good. Maybe like in BGs where a lot of people are dying, like if you're pre-mating you can go that, but when you're pre-mating you won't even really go to spec anyway. So yeah. Oh, and the 5 points in lethality, sorry. That's also helps you do more damage on your critical strikes for backstab and your other offensive abilities. So that pretty much sums up like the points and stuff and why they're here. Now I'm gonna start talking about why you take a lot of these points. Like improved expose armor, like you need this if you're gonna be fighting things like warriors and paladins and you're by yourself. You need to expose armor, you need to rupture and kite them because they're wearing plate and they're gonna be pretty hard to kill. Even like an enhanced shaman who is wearing mail, like expose armor is just essential. I see a lot of people just put the points into vile poisons or remorseless attacks, and honestly it's just a waste. Like you don't need that stuff. If we go over to the sub tree, you see we only have 1 point in dirty deeds. Now if you're really geared, you can take the point from cold blood and put it in dirty deeds so you can run 2, because dirty deeds is like honestly my favorite ability, I mean talent, sorry, because it reduces the energy cost of your cheap shot, which is really good because the more energy you have, the more backstabs you can do, the more abilities you can do in general. If you time your things properly on GCD like blind, you want to make sure you always have enough energy for stuff, so the more points you can put in here the better. Next we have improved sap. So you want to always return into stealth mode. Like it's essential. If you sap and don't go back in stealth to reset, it's like it's so bad. Like you never want to not stealth off of sap. So 3 points in this is essential. Initiative is always hit or miss because it's always like it's a 75% chance, so the odds of it going off and you getting the extra combo point when you use like ambush and cheap shot and stuff is high. But some people like to take 2 points here and go 1 point in ghostly strikes because when you open and you don't kill them, the ghostly strikes will give you higher chance to dodge alongside your evasion. So if you really want to survive on like a warrior and you make a lot of mistakes, ghostly strikes can really save you. For the rest of the points, like mod, I feel like mod's not really, like it's kind of whatever honestly. Like if you're gonna max out mod, you're just trying to like one shot people, essentially people in a lot less gear than you, like stealthing in a major city or something, so you don't want to get spotted by anyone, so you can go points in mod, but I wouldn't bother too much. when it comes up to fighting other classes in this spec, you can pretty much beat anything in my opinion except for a mage. Mages and like Reckoning Paladins are the two things that really just kill you. Like a good Reckoning Paladin will just kill you no matter what. Like your chances of winning are very low against that. Warrior is like, I want to say it's 50-50, but if they use like certain consumables like living action potions and stuff, the chance of you winning is very low because at that point they can just run at you and kill you and there's not much counterplay you can do about it. The reason why you can't beat mages with this spec, because if the mage is good, he's just gonna kite you. With rank 1 Frostbolt, Cone of Cold, he can ice block your sap and your blind and stuff, so like what are you really gonna do? Another thing I'd say you'd struggle with, not too much, is if you're a horde, dwarf rogues are annoying, but that's any rogue spec, because you can't rely on your blind as much for CC and getting your reset off with sap. So watch out for dwarves in general, like Dwarf Hunter as well is pretty good counter for rogue. Dwarf anything, like mage, priest, whatever, it's pretty good. But that's about it. You can't really move around too many points with this spec, so I wouldn't try that much to change it. That's why it is a cookie cutter spec after all. Like there's not much to it. You have your moments where like you're gonna go on like a Clothy and ambush, you know, do a lot of damage or whatever the case may be, and you might kill them, but it's nothing crazy. I don't really have much else to say about this spec, so we can move over to the other spec, which is improved sprint daggers. Now this spec, there's a lot of things you can do with this spec because it pretty much helps you defeat mages. Like if you're using the spec against a mage, your chances of winning are very high, but at the same time you can still lose because in my opinion the matchup is very like mage oriented. Like mage versus melee, they're just gonna kite you and you kind of just die, so I wouldn't really feel too bummed out if you lose to a mage as a rogue, because a while ago I used to get really mad, but now I'm just like, oh, it's whatever. I can't really do much against it, at least at my skill level. So this is very similar to the other spec. We have the 5 points in opportunity, the 4 points in camouflage, the 2 in elusiveness. Your improved ambush and initiative are a must. Improved sap and preparation. Now with this build that I run, I put 2 points dirty deeds because like I said before, dirty deeds is one of my favorite talent points in subtree. This is where it starts to change a bit with the next side of your tree. So when you go combat, sorry. So you go 4 points in 2 lightning reflexes and 3 into improved gouge. You still get your improved backstep, of course, but here's where the game changer happens, your improved sprint. This is where you destroy a mage. You get a 50% chance to remove all movement impairing effects when you activate your sprint. So not only do you get 1, but you get 2 sprints since your preparation. So you really can just defeat a mage who's just gonna rely on his Frost Nova and stuff like that to beat you. Now, the things you can get in Assassination are a little more limited than with the Cold Blood Dagger spec, because you don't get Cold Blood, obviously. You don't get your 1 point to play around. You don't put points into Expose Armor, so you're a little worse against Warrior, and you're a lot worse against Paladin, in my opinion. So you don't want to run around thinking you're invincible, just fucking ganking a Paladin, thinking you're just gonna boom dead, you know? It's just just not gonna work, dude. I've tried it. You just die. You kind of start to get into that realization where it's like, there's nothing I can really do against certain classes, especially if they're prepared with consumables, because Rogue is all about killing someone when they're least expecting it and least prepared. So like when you're out in the world, you don't expect people to walk around with like living action potions and free action potions and stuff to have their like Skull of Impending Doom already equipped and ready for when a rogue jumps on them. So yeah, it really is not as strong as a lot of people think, a lot of people say like Rogue's invincible in vanilla and stuff like that, but after really playing it a lot, yeah, it can beat everything, but it can just as easily lose to everything if you make a mistake. But like I was saying about the spec, ruthlessness is, you know, a must. Relentless strikes is a must. And then you just can't get the exposed armor. So this isn't only for mages again. Like improved sprint rem- removes all movement impairing effects. I'm sorry, I think I said 50% before, but when you spec into it, obviously you get 100%. So it's a mistake I made. It happens. If you really wanted to, instead of going 4 points into lightning reflexes, you can put 2 into sinister strike. I wouldn't do it because I think it's a waste. This is another spec where you don't have that much room to play around. Now you can take the 1 point out of dirty deeds and you can put it like into improved eviscerate if you wanted to. You could put the 1 point into mod or like serrated to get the armor reduction, but again, it's really not needed. Another thing I like using the spec for over the cold blood spec is dueling druids. Now druids are just gonna root you and they're gonna put dots on you and they're just gonna run away. Like they're pretty much fucking mages, but even more aids because you just can't do anything, dude. It's just like moonfire, and then they put up fairy fire, and then they entangling roots you, and they laugh at you pretty much because you're like, oh, look at me, I can run. So, you know, the key to beating a druid is to blow him up before you can like do all of those things. Depending on the kind of druid you're fighting, he's just gonna go bear form. If he's a feral like flag running spec, he's just gonna go bear, and then that's the end of that right there. That's all she wrote. So I went a little bit in depth into both of these specs, cold blood prep daggers and improved sprint daggers. There are things that I didn't talk about that I could probably talk about in a future video, but for now, I think that gives a pretty good understanding on what you will get from using these specs in terms of like what can I kill, what is each spec good at fighting over the other, and stuff like that. You have your more cookie cutter spec, and then you have your kind of more tactician spec where you can fight mages and kind of things that counter you, but you won't really fare so well against the plate characters and those guys who are running a lot of armor. So I'll leave this video to you guys. If you have any questions, feel free to put them down in the comment section. I will be making more talent videos in the future for other specs for PvP and probably even PvE in the future, so stay tuned for that. I'll catch you guys in our next video.